As a tungsten guy, I asked what is the best tungsten mine, and they said here is one tungsten mine which used to produce almost 30% or 40% of ex-Soviet ammunition tungsten material. So I asked, okay, that's name is Maykhura.
We've been following tungsten for several years now. It's a perfect storm that is happening with tungsten.
I'm standing in the middle of 900,000 tons of tungsten tailings. What we know from the sampling that we've done so far is that the surface is grading at around about 0.2%. Absolutely is right here, ready to be processed, and it's in a great location. Plan to do a very low-cost startup.
And I actually took samples of those tailings, and as a tungsten guy, I can certainly tell this is a good grader.
If you want to find out more about us, please go to our website. There you'll find a simple contact form, and one of our team will get back in touch with you. Very happy to jump on the phone.
Today I'll be taking you along for a behind-the-scenes look of our site visit to Pure Tungsten's incredibly high-grade tungsten mine called Maykhura in Tajikistan. As a quick reminder, Pure Tungsten is already restarting their high-grade tungsten mine in South Korea and is expecting production in early 2026. Tajikistan would be a bit longer term, but Pure Tungsten aims to unlock unparalleled upside within this hidden gem of a country. To better understand the upside potential of Tajikistan for Pure Tungsten, let's start with Max Beck at the Maykhura mine. Max, we're at the Maykhura mine. Perhaps you can explain what this mine means in Pure Tungsten's grander strategy.
It's a great question. And in fact, I was asked just this morning from one of our potential investors, why are we out here? Because the Sangjong mine in South Korea alone could turn us into $1 billion company. So why don't we just develop that and then use that as a platform to come and develop other tungsten mines? Well, there's a number of reasons. Timing is one. The timing is appropriate now to take a look at the Maykhura mine. Prove to the Tajiki government that we are a team that can deliver a profitable working mine as it was back in 1976. Tajikistan, if you don't know, is just starting to open up its doors to direct foreign investment. They're starting to have roadshows. We're here at the Invest in Tajikistan, where we've seen representatives from all over the world that are coming to see what this beautiful country has to offer in terms of mineral reserves, and they're exceptional. So as I said, the timing is now. We have the Russian reports, which we're getting converted into English, into a JORC standard report, so we're better equipped to know what we're dealing with. And we believe we're on to something extremely special. The strategy here is different to the strategy we have in South Korea. In South Korea, we're doing some beneficiation in country. We're taking a 20% concentrate, which we're producing at the mine. We're taking it to a flotation facility, which is already built. It's a fantastic facility, the Hupo facility, and we're going to upgrade that concentrate to probably around about 65%, and then that concentrate will be shipped out to be developed elsewhere. Here we plan to build the whole value chain. So we'll mine, we'll do the same, producing a 20% concentrate at the mine. We're going to truck that 20% concentrate to a facility that will then upgrade it to a 65% concentrate. From there, we're going to build a number of other facilities with the end goal of producing tungsten carbide with tungsten from a hub here.
Max, thank you for outlining that great overview. And of course, you've now recently signed the MOU for this Maykhura mine that we're at right now.
Since we've been here, we've been introduced to a number of ministers involved in mining and deputy ministers. And the theme throughout has been one of openness, of a team in the government that want to see us come into the country, invest in this country and bring the Maykhura mine back to life as a starter, and then of course move on to other geological targets. The reception we've received has been nothing short of really ideal, perfect in a way. Very friendly, very welcoming.
Next up, let's chat with Tiger Kim, the CEO of Pure Tungsten, on the backstory of the Maykhura mine within the Pure Tungsten portfolio, as well as why he believes this asset could be a game changer for Pure Tungsten. Tiger, I would first like to thank you for taking us along to this fantastic site visit. It's been truly amazing to see Maykhura. I would like to go back to the beginning for a second. I would love for you to tell the story you've told to us in the car ride, how you got into Tajikistan originally.
It is an amazing story. Actually, since tungsten obviously is one of the major critical minerals needed by Korea, we wanted to develop our Sangjeon mine, but that's not big enough to cover the entire Korea. And Korea still relies on over 90% import from China. And we got to do something to solve this supply chain problem. So I traveled around many countries, including Mongolia, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan. And unfortunately, all the good mines, good tungsten mines, are all taken by either Chinese, US, in some certain cases, European countries. But I was surprised when I had luckily, somebody who knows the Tajikistan, who used to be ex-ambassador of Korea to Tajikistan, introduced this opportunity to me, and he said, this is the country where it's full of mineral resources, including critical minerals, because over 93% of this the country is mountains. But more importantly, all these good mines are not taken. They are still owned by the states. So there comes the opportunity, and he invited. Actually, I came over, and as a tungsten guy, I asked, what is the best tungsten mine? And they said, here is one tungsten mine which used to produce almost 30% or 40% of ex-Soviet ammunition tungsten material. So I asked, okay, that's name is Maykhura. So next day, we went there. And I had a site. Of course, we are not allowed to get into the undergrounds, but at least we could have checked the status of the tunnels, and we could have walked in like a 20 meters, okay? And looking at this huge tailings, and we have about 900,000 tons of tailings, I figured, and I actually took samples of those tailings, and as a tungsten guy, I can certainly tell this is good grader. And if you say, if your tailings has, let's say, 0.3% or 0.4%, you can imagine what would be the head grade or feed grade. So that's the beginning. And on the way back, I called the guy and said, okay, any possibility of signing the MOU? That was exactly a year ago, October last year.
Incredible backstory there, Tiger. Thank you for taking us along for that. And what is incredible about the mine that you have, Maykhura, that you outlined, is that those tailings, you could potentially reprocess that because there's still a lot of tungsten in there. Actually, you said 0.2, 0.3 in your samples. That's higher than the global average of mines, isn't it?
Exactly. Because we were in a hurry, when I took samples from the surface. But as you understand, metal like tungsten or heavy metals like gold in the tailings dam, they tend to settle down as time goes by. So if you have taken samples deep inside, we know the grade will be higher. But even the assay test result of this samples taken from the surface gave me 0.224, 0.25%, which tells this is great mine. Right? And the other gentleman whom I met in Tajikistan, who did actual digging of 3 meters down deep and took samples down there, he told me his assay results were close to 0.6%. And as you said, the world average is slightly less than 0.2%. You can tell how good this mine is. I can definitely tell you, based on the Russian report, which was thousands of pages, and obviously we have translated very important part of the grades and the mineralization. It gives us 0.93% of close to 2 million C1, which is in our cases confirmed resources. This is great mine, and that 2 million is only from ore body number 1. And the report said there is ore body number 2, 3, and 4. Which in parallel, which contains similar quantity of high-grade tungsten.
Yeah, incredible long-term potential there, and like you outlined already, those studies have been incredibly in-depth by the Soviets.
Yeah.
The information in there is the way they explored was significantly more extensive than a Western company would do it.
Yeah, that's another surprise. Not particularly this mine. All these ex-communist countries. The way they explore is very different from capitalist countries. Actually, they went underground and did this drillings up and down for 40 meters, 50 meters, and they've done hundreds of them, right? And they did it over 4 years' time. Exploration work only took 4 years' time. And the report came out in early 1976, giving us all this confirmation of 2 million at 0.93% grade, right? So based on this, they want us to develop this mine seriously in a bigger scale. But then this Chinese export and price plunge came, so they could not have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, incredible. And of course, you're now doing the studies to see if you could go towards a restart strategy with the tailings, right? To try to reprocess that?
Yep. We have about 900,000 tons of tailings, and let's say average grade of 0.3, 0.4. That gives us enough for operating, let's say, 3-4 years. But obviously, while we are reprocessing the tailings, we will do all this development preparation for the main underground at the moment.
Incredible long-term potential. Tiger, thank you so much for taking this long. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And thank you for coming and visiting the Maykhura mine as well as Tajikistan.
And those tailings are exactly what could allow Pure Tungsten to swiftly restart this incredibly high-grade asset. Let's go back to Max at the Maykhura mine, who will take us along for the restart strategy.
I'm standing in the middle of 900,000 tons of tungsten tailings. What we know from the sampling that we've done so far is that the surface is grading at around about 0.2%. We know from samples that have been taken from much deeper, it's about 0.6%. And what we're maybe experiencing here is typical of tailings. You're getting the weathering effect where the continual rainwater is washing the material lower down into the tailings. So we've taken some more samples. We're hoping to average at least 0.4%.
And Max, what's incredible with this rock is, of course, you don't need to do any blasting, any mining. It's right here, ready to be processed.
Absolutely, it's right here, ready to be processed, and it's in a great location. So we plan to do a very low-cost startup where we will take the tailings, we will put them through a initial concentration here, and then we'll ship out something like a 20% concentrate from this site to a second processing site. Just one additional point on how we plan to process these tailings here. We're going to use gravity separation, and because we're using gravity separation, that means that we don't need a tailings dam. And because we don't need a tailings dam, that means that the capex requirement to restart this part of the mining operation is incredibly low.
And another point there, Max, of course, the environmental footprint of a tailings dam. If you're not going to use those chemicals here on site, instead at a processing plant where the rock is already 15%, 20% tungsten, you also need significantly less of those chemicals, so the environmental footprint is significantly lower.
Yes, that's a very good point, Stein. And in fact, what's useful to know is one of the reasons that we got an opportunity here is because of our environmental history at the Sangjong mine in South Korea. What we're doing there is, again, we're using gravity, we're not using any chemicals. In fact, it's a 100% green, environmentally friendly process down there, which again has no tailings dam. And we came to the Tajiki government and proposed exactly the same process here. And because of that, they were very warm towards our proposal.
Next up, let's chat with Charles to discuss his first impressions of Tajikistan, the strategic importance of tungsten, as well as next steps for Pure Tungsten. Charles, we've had an absolutely fabulous trip here in Tajikistan. What are your impressions of the country and the assets thus far?
Just incredible. I didn't know what to expect before I arrived here. And it's just been such a joy to be here. The people are extremely friendly and hospitable to us. The city is very modern. We can tell that the country is on a very good path as the economy is booming. There's around 8% GDP growth year over year for the last several years. So it's one of the strongest performing economies in the world. And just the overall logistics with coming here, what a pleasant surprise.
Definitely a pleasant surprise on that front. And I would love to talk a second about really your grand vision of going into tungsten. Of course, you've been very busy with gold. We were also at the Gold Road mine in the USA together. Why tungsten?
Well, we've been following tungsten for several years now. And it's a perfect storm that is happening with tungsten, along with a lot of other critical minerals. Number one, tungsten is one of the top minerals on the critical minerals list, and we've been studying the supply side of things for the past few years, and we could see that the supply was tightening up and the demand was still increasing. Back in the mid-70s, China flooded the market with cheaper tungsten, which drove away a lot of competition. Now, a lot of the Chinese mines they've been producing for years, and a lot of them are mined out. A lot of them were smaller operations that had environmental issues, and China has done a good job of bringing those mines, shutting down those mines that are environmentally unfriendly. So all this has caused a decrease in the supply while the demand has been increasing. And we all know a lot of the uses for tungsten. So the Western world right now is very short on tungsten. China recently has put in measures where they significantly restrict the export of tungsten.
Excellent, very exciting catalyst to look out for. And of course, I would also love to quickly touch base on the long-term potential you see for this country, Tajikistan.
It's amazing, the potential here. The country is 93% mountains. It's tremendously endowed with various minerals. 10 of the 12 minerals on the critical minerals list are found in good quantities here. They obviously are looking for parties to come in and help develop these resources, and that's what we're here to do. And we've seen some nice positive surprises on this trip.
We've also had the opportunity to tour a fluorite plant within Tajikistan, just a few hours away from the Maykhura mine, which paints an interesting picture for how affordable a plant like this could be for pure tungsten in the future. Tiger, we got an incredible tour here at a fluorite plant.
Yep.
What are your first impressions?
Well, actually the main purpose of us visiting this plant is to check how our partner company, Talco, operate their fluorite at the processing plant. Obviously, fluorite is very different from scheelite or tungsten, wolfram, but just looking at my first impression is that it's been very well organized inside and generating 97% grade fluorspar or fluorite. With this operation is fairly impressive. And more impressive thing or impression I got was all this plant, including all the equipment inside, cost only $7 million US. And by the way, this plant is fairly new. It was built in 2022.
And that's for a 400 ton per day, roughly speaking, flotation circuit, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, that's an incredible price tag. Just ballpark figures, it could cost multitudes of that in a different country. And that really shows the potential of Tajikistan.
I totally agree. I totally agree that if we are to build the same size, the same equipment in Korea, it would cost 25 million easily.
Last but not least, here's Max back, who will take you along on how you can keep your finger on the pulse of pure tungsten.
Well, we had a great day yesterday. We were up at the mine site, as you've already seen, tremendous footage and a beautiful location. If you want to find out more about us, please go to our website, which is puretungsten.ca. There you'll find a simple contact form. All we need is your email and telephone number and your name, of course. And one of our team, myself, Ed Baum, or Eric Robinson, will get back in touch with you. Very happy to jump on the phone or just do everything by email.